Do you like chocolate cake? What about chocolate cake that has 10 times as much protein as in a regular slice and only half the calories? This recipe has 23 grams of protein and only 150 calories per slice. No flour, no sugar, no butter. Let's bake it. First, preheat the oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, prepare the baking trays. Take non-stick baking paper and cut out 2 circles of baking paper larger than the spring forms. These 2 spring form pans are 20 centimeters or 8 inches in diameter. Place each circle over the bottom and close the ring over the paper, securing it in place tightly. Spray a little non-stick cooking spray over the forms. If the spray is too generous, take a paper towel and use it to evenly spread it and remove any excess. Now dust a light even coat of coconut flour over the spray. Tip out any excess and set the spring forms aside until your batter is ready to bake. This batter is super easy to make, and in fact some of you have probably prepared it with regular flour and sugar before. Start by sifting the protein powder, vanilla flavored in this case, and the baking powder. The point of this step is to incorporate air into the mixture. You want the cake to be as light and fluffy as possible. Next, separate the yolks from the egg whites. Be careful not to contaminate your egg whites with water, oil, coconut, or anything else, or they won't become fluffy when you beat them. Put them in a clean and completely dry bowl. Using an electric whisk, start beating the egg yolks with 1/3 of the sweetener. In this recipe, we use erythritol. Whisk it on high until the egg yolks double in volume. The exact recipe quantities will be in the link in the description. Set the yolks aside and get a bowl to whisk the whites. Make sure the bowl is completely clean, perfectly dry, and cool to the touch. If it's warm out of the dishwasher, your whites won't form stiff peaks. Beat the whites on high speed until they foam up and then start slowly adding the rest of the sweetener. Continue whisking the whites until they form stiff peaks. Stop and check every few minutes to see if they're ready, and don't beat any longer than needed or the whites will start becoming runny again. Next, add half of the dry ingredients and half of the egg whites to the egg yolks and gently fold the mixture until it's well combined. Add the rest of the dry ingredients and egg whites and continue folding until everything is well incorporated. If you have never used erythritol, you should definitely try it. It's a natural 0-calorie, 0-carb sweetener, a sugar alcohol made from fermentation of corn. It has no negative effects on digestion or teeth health, and it has a glycemic index of 0. Look at this batter, look how fluffy it is, how light and soft it looks. Now pour half of the cake batter in a cake pan and half in the other. Gently level off the tops and place in the oven to bake. Don't open the oven for at least 7 minutes. After that, lower the temperature to 150 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for another 13 minutes. Take the cakes out of the oven and flip them over on a clean kitchen towel. Leave them upside down to cool down enough for you to be able to keep your hand on the pan. It should be warm but not hot to the touch. To take them out of the pans, use a butter knife and make sure the cake isn't sticking to the sides. Open the spring form and flip the cake upside down on the towel. remove the base of the pan and the paper and cover the cake with the towel. Repeat with the second cake and let them cool down completely inside the towel. To cut the cake, first level off the top and then carefully mark the outside of the cake to use as a guide for your knife before cutting all the way through. Be careful because they will be very delicate. Now that you have your discs, you can either use them as is or you can cut them to a certain size or shape. You can use a ring form or a plate to cut the edges of your cakes. For the filling between the layers, you will need to chop up some pumpkin and boil it until fork tender. Once it's ready, drain it and mash it into a smooth puree. Add some low-fat unsweetened cocoa powder and sweetener to taste. Place a disc of the cake down and cover it generously with the pumpkin chocolate filling. You might have noticed there is no syrup or milk or any liquid to keep the cake moist. That's because there is enough moisture in the filling for the cake to soak up and stay moist. Continue this until all the discs of cake have been covered except the final one. Only one more component left to make before we can build the cake, the frosting. You will need strained low-fat yogurt or low-fat Greek yogurt. To it, add unsweetened cocoa powder and sweetener to taste. You don't need too much flavoring, the frosting can be lighter. Stir everything until well combined. Finally, with the frosting done, we can assemble the cake. Now, frost the cake using a spatula. Yes, this spatula is ridiculously oversized. At this point, the cake is very delicate and fresh, so be especially gentle when applying the thick frosting. If the frosting is straight out of the fridge, it will be more difficult to spread, so let it stay out at room temperature before you start. Keep going until you cover the entire cake, and then start smoothing out any imperfections until you're satisfied with the results. Now the decoration. You have practically unlimited choices for decoration. Strawberries are naturally one of the lowest in sugar content fruits and are juicy and fresh. I think they give the cake a classic homemade look. If you can refrain from eating the cake right away and wait overnight, the moisture from the chocolate filling will soak into the layers, making the cake more delicious. One piece of this cake actually survived uneaten in the fridge all the way up till its 5th day, and it was easily the tastiest part of the whole cake. This cake was honestly phenomenal, and it can convert people over to the sugar-free side. Give it a try, it's not difficult to make, nor are the ingredients too hard to obtain. Give it a go and let me know in the comments what you think. Enjoy your healthy, sugar-free, low-carb, low-calorie, high-protein cake. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing so you won't miss any delicious recipes.